Okay, welcome to the Gno.land developer call. It's the 13th call we've had so far, and today is September 6th. So I've shared with you guys the agenda for the call. So let's get started. Territory, or Zuma, do you want to give an update? I think you're here, yeah? Oh, you just joined. Hey, Zuma.
I think I can start. Maybe he's having some technical issues.
So maybe Andrew, if you want, from Unblock.
Yeah, all right. Do you mind if I share my screen? All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's get started. So we updated our space on our issue on hackerspace. I'm gonna kind of run through it. And first, I'll cover what we've worked on for the last couple of weeks, starting with Adina. We released patched version 1.8.0 just a couple of hours ago. And here is the release note. I'm going to share it with chat so you guys can take a look. And so what was covered in this patch was some UI UX enhancements and account management settings and the sidebar, as well as some bug fixes. And a new major update was the addition of new injection methods for adding and switching network for dApps, which I'm going to showcase right now. Oh, I should have let me pull over here. And I'll start with showcasing the settings menu revamp. So we used to have the settings menu right down here, but it's now moved right here. So so basically the sidebar menu is where you kind of like manage Adina, and the main menu is where you can focus on your on-chain activities basically. And as you can see, we've added this copy icon next to the names of the accounts. And once you hit it, you can copy whichever account you own on Adina without having to manually switch between them. And this little button right here takes you to the account details page. So if I want to change my account name, just simply type whatever I want, and then it's done. And I'm gonna show you guys the new injection methods. I have this small piece of code right here that I can copy off of, and so this new method is called add network, and it's basically for dApps to send users requests to add their own custom Gno.land networks. So this is just an example. This is not an actual RPC URL, but so once I hit approve, it's going to show up on Adina. So again, we're going to go to settings page, go to change network, and you guys can see the network that I just added right here. And the next injection is switch network, which is pretty much self-explanatory. And I'm going to try changing the network to territory 1, which is territory's custom network. And once I hit switch, it's going to take me to the territory network. So yeah, so my balance has been changed. And once I go to settings, you guys can see that I'm now on Gno territory testnet. And that's pretty much it for the demo. And moving on, obviously we released a patch note and shared it on Twitter. I'm gonna drop the link in chat so you guys can also take a look. And moving on to GnoSwap, we open sourced realms for GnoSwap today. Did you guys, which is in our GnoSwap Labs repo, and we added a guide for anyone to run unit tests. So make sure you guys check that out. I'm also gonna drop the link in chat. Sorry for sharing so many links, but moving on. And we're still working on GNOSwap interface, the next release for the GNOSwap interface. And so far, we've developed the earn and staking UI pages, and you guys can check everything out on the development server on the link that I shared last week. I'll share it again in case some of you guys missed it. And as for the next update, we released the last episode of Why Gno, our blog post series, and it's now been completed. So you guys can check out the whole series on our Hackerspace issue, which is right up here. Yeah, so it was a 6-episode long series covering pretty much Gno.land and why we've decided to build GNOSwap. So if you're interested, be sure to take a look. And that's pretty much it for what we've covered for the last couple of weeks. And moving on to what we'll be working on for the next 2 weeks. We'll be working to finish the next release for the GNOSwap interface, developing the governance and the airdrop pages. And we're also going to start developing the front-end logic to integrate with GNOSwap realms and APIs. And we're going to add more test cases to GNOSwap realms and going to refine our code to get prepared for open contributions. And as for the core side of GNO, we're going to start porting packages to pure GNO, but it is blocked by issue 859. So we want to talk about that later on. And we also want to ask you guys if there's anything we should work on or if anyone needs help with anything. And yeah, I guess that's pretty much it for this week.
Can you share the issue that you guys are blocked on?
Oh yeah, sure.
And
One
the
moment.
yeah, and then I add it.
There it is. It is 859.
Yeah, because I had another issue from you guys that I've added to the agenda. So maybe we can add this one.
Oh, thanks, Milosh. I think Jeff has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michelle or Manfred may have mentioned this, but you have implemented a wallet that looks like it's on a mobile, but I think it's going straight through JavaScript, right? Talking to the realms. We're taking an approach where we're using the existing Go code base, getting that to run on the mobile, and writing interface to use that. The end result may, for the wallet, end up appearing similar to the user. So we have an open desire to generally coordinate with you to make sure, you know, you're developing the app. Our role is to develop a framework which will allow other people to develop GNO apps for the mobile. But we'd want to make sure that if that app they have has wallet functionality, in general, people should have a similar user experience across all the GNO apps. It's just a desirable goal. So I just want to say that looks great, and you wouldn't have to do anything about it right now, but that's something that's always on our mind.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. We actually do have a Discord channel. It's a developer-only Discord channel for teams integrating Adena. So I'm also gonna share that link if I can. Well, my Discord. Well, I'm gonna share it later on.
Okay, and we can coordinate through Michelle so that we're all on the same page. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, sounds good.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. So I added the topic of the 859 later. Okay, shall we move on? I don't know, Antoine, are you here in territory?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I am.
Finally, you got it.
Yeah, sorry, I had the headphone problem. So yeah, hello here. So I'll be quick, I think, for this week. So basically, we focused on territory team on two main things. The first is to prepare the open sourcing of all previous works. So moderation module. and the DAO deployer. So we are preparing a new repo to provide all documentations and new realms to easily deploy a DAO, and also use the moderation DAO module. And on the other side, we're also working on the Justice DAO module. So to explain it quickly, the Justice DAO module is a module that can be called when there is a problem with the escrow system. So basically, our target is to build a grant program manager. And so in the case of a freelance marketplace, which is decentralized, we need an escrow system that is secure with the realm. But we also need to care about the potential conflicts that we could have between the seller and the buyer. So in this case, we want to provide a module that can call a dedicated DAO to solve the conflict, and we need to implement some randomness to choose the people that will be the judges for to solve this conflict without any interest conflict, etc. So Gopher is working on the on various things like create a justice proposal, propose justice DAO solutions, etc. And we expect to deliver the new repo that will be called Territory DAO tooling. And we, I think Miloš created the repo, so we expect to provide both realms and documentation in the upcoming week. And we also, I think, I don't know if we already shared it, but we also finished the first UI for the flag system on the moderation DAO. So now, if you want to test the social feed on Gno, we have a dedicated territory Gno testnet that provides all the Gno moderation flow with the flag and the content and the ban system based on the realm. So if you want to experiment it, you have two options. You can both just ping us and we will provide all the information, but we'll also share a tutorial next week that will present all the process to add a custom network, etc., and experiment moderation DAO. And I think that's all. Just checking.
Yeah, there was one thing that we talked about was, I don't know if there's the repo yet that Miloš can share, but we also talked about shortly collecting the team's addresses, right? And starting to test out the moderation DAO interface.
Yes,
So,
because there is two reasons that because the first is we don't have the faucet right now for the Gno territory testnets. So basically to send you some testnet token, but also to add you in the moderation DAO. So yeah, we will need to have like many developers to join the DAO, the moderation DAO, and yeah, experiment or give new proposals, etc., and try to hack it.
Yep.
So feel free to join us in this kind of sandbox. Yeah.
Yeah, the idea was that we would get an Excel spreadsheet and get everyone to put their info there, then add to the moderation DAO, and then we can use that as like a feedback loop.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Okay, cool. If that's it from territory, shall we move on to, we have Birdie and then on No Mobile.
Yes. Let me share my screen just to point at things. Entire screen. So since our last call, we have a couple demo videos on our builder journey. One is a demo of the UI. So we have a proof of concept showing that we can get all this to work by running Go on the mobile. So you can check this out. And this I think it's from yesterday, video, is a 1-minute video with a quick overview of the system diagram for GNOME Mobile, if anybody's curious, and to kind of see where gRPC fits in there, and to give some more rationale why we wanted to use gRPC for connecting the mobile code to Go. This is something which Michelle also put this on the agenda. This was very nice. Millis helped me close it. But we closed this issue because there's already a nice tracking issue here, which is this, which exactly spells out the problem we're having. You know, we get when you call a realm function through the RPC and you get back something, it's basically a custom stringified version of the object with all its type info in it, which is not really useful for app developers. But there should be some way of converting it back into a useful object in whatever language you have. We can contribute to that in our next phase, but since it's a known issue, we will just rely on updates to this and the related meta issue. And otherwise, in general, we are wrapping up our first phase of the project, leading up to the technical proposal to actually develop as a package the GNOME Mobile framework. And next time we talk, we hope we can give you a lot more updates on that. Yay.
Does anyone have questions? I guess then yours were addressed. I mean,
yeah. What's nice about that meta issue I showed you is also spoke about the problems we were having with estimating gas fees. So these are all well-known issues. Very nice.
okay.
We don't need to talk about that today, I don't think.
Okay. I think we don't have any updates on No IDE. So maybe, Joseph, if you want to give a quick intro to yourself and Knowles, and then, yeah.
Hi, I'm Joseph Pacchio. I'm a super new contributor to the GNOME project, about a week of experience, but can I give a quick demo of my work?
Sure. I just shared the hackerspace issue.
I'm sharing my screen. Can you see it okay?
Yep.
All right, I'm working on a language server for GNOME. This is Sublime Text right now. It has simple GNOME file open. The first thing you'll notice, if I hover over a symbol, you'll get some information. If I start typing another one, provide some autocomplete, similar information there. And this, you'll note, is a symbol that's specific to the GNOME standard library. If I delete this and save the file, the auto formats, I can introduce a little error here. Save again. It shows an error message from the precompile command. And quickly, if I switch over to a test file, shows some annotations that you can click on. This will run a single test. Filters the other ones from the file. Or I can run all of them from the file. It will filter elsewhere from the package. And that's pretty much it for now.
What are you thinking about doing with the, wow, there's lots of applause. What's your hope, Joseph? I don't know, can the team help? what do you think what's next? Or
I guess in the short term, I hope to roll it out to more editors. Right now, I've been kind of testing it with Sublime Text and NeoVim, but theoretically, at least, it can work with any editor that supports the protocol. Yeah, like IntelliJ, Golang.
do we have an
exploring
editor
that.
wish list? Or
I'm sorry, what was that?
do we have an editor wish list? Or
I think Golang and Emacs were the next ones on my list.
okay.
All right,
Albert's happy
Yeah.
too.
thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know. Does anyone have questions or? Okay.
Not much of a question, but just a huge kudos to you, Joseph, for working on Gno.land. As already said, it's just a very welcome addition to anyone who's ever developed on a realm in Gno.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool.
Is there already a repo? We can.
Yeah, I can share the link.
Yeah, it was the hackerspace.
Oh yeah, you shared it.
before.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, if there's nothing, then and thanks for joining, Joseph. So yeah, shall we get to the core team topics? Which basically is a lot of Morgan. Everything from issue 1082 to 1086, along with an 812 that relates to Antonio.
Yes.
was
Let me pull up.
1082. I went from your list of like the cryptic error.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just
Maybe just context for everyone who may or may not know, right? This is Morgan. This is all of these findings are related to your work around building an app in Gno.land, Node.js.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So sorry. I'll. Can you send again? Okay. Now maybe I'll find it. Yeah. The link to the meeting agenda. There. Found it. So I'm gonna quickly go over what's the current status on Notice. I'll share my screen in a sec. Right. Okay. So you should see my screen right now. So this is what's been taking a large majority of my time of the past week and a half. So the current status is that we now have the test working on not working anymore, I guess. So that's why you don't try to do this without testing it before. But anyway, aside from this bug, which I'm sure is just I forgot to change a variable somewhere. I have completed really officially the complete rule set of tests over the past few weeks, and this includes doing implementing a very fun hashing algorithm with XORs, which you might wonder. Well, I remember playing chess, but I don't remember doing this algorithm. And I would say you'd be right, and also you don't probably remember all these funny numbers. But essentially, it's a useful way for chess engines to verify that the position hasn't occurred already, because there's like some draw conditions, which are like the fivefold repetition, whereby if the same position happens more than if it happens more 5 times, then the game is automatically a draw. So essentially, we have the basic functionality to, let's say, to write the front end and the app for Gnotis. which is being taken care of by Alexi, which I don't think is in the call today, but he's working on the front end. Well, I'm working on the back end here. And as Michelle was saying, in my efforts to do this, to work on this, I found quite a few bugs here. So I mostly like wrote them here just because I thought like it could be you know, there's probably not too much discussion to be had about these because like they're like objective bugs, but still I think it's behavior that might be useful to know in case you stumble upon these problems, which often lead to complex to understand errors. And I just created like some issues which are, you know, even just cryptic errors because they are very hard to understand what's actually going on. Like the example for this one, we have the example here is that we have an assignment from a function which returns nothing, and this leads to sort of an error which is I think very hard to understand what's it saying first glance if you sort of don't have an intrinsic understanding of the AST, of how GNO works on the AST level. This one is another fun one. So I was working with bit shifting essentially on GNOchess, and particularly there was in reference to this change that is right here. So this probably took me around I would say a couple of hours to figure out what was going on, and essentially like the GNO parser, like when it got to this point, like to this expression, which is wrong because like I didn't intend to put the logical or I intended to put the bitwise word here. It didn't think it was wrong. Like logically, this one should return Boolean. Well, this one should return like the type of the same type of NC and NR. But instead, like what actually happens here is that it appears that only the first item of the logical OR is returned in this case. And notice that none of the return argument is actually Boolean. So that's another fun one. This is like more to prove the point that we probably need to like inspect and understand exactly how like where we're putting the names of things, you know, when parsing packages and so on. What I found in this one is that if we have a variable which is named tests as a global variable or any kind of identifier named tests, I suppose, then what we get is just a segmentation fault or invalid memory address. And yeah, it seems to be because like this is kind of seen by this function here, static block defined 2, as there's another definition of the same variable. So I can see here, I don't know 100% how this works, but I know that, you know, it's supposed to call this twice, once with just nil and undefined, and then giving the actual sort of type to the variable. But then it's doing this again, and I don't think it's changing package and static block, and that's probably what's causing the issue. So it's another fun one if somebody wants to tackle heading deep into the GNO VM to find other weird behaviors. Then there's 1085, which is brief but also a bit problematic, which is simply that these kind of expressions don't work because they're larger than 2 power 63, and so because it's outside of the int64 range, this expression actually fails. And I tried looking at the code. I'm not 100% sure why this is the case, because it should logically work, but it doesn't. But still, another fun bug. And finally, what do we have? Oh yeah, this is like the larger one, which I think I also briefly mentioned last week. So we have a problem. We have like a substantial problem in the GNO VM, which is probably to be addressed even before, like, say, a new test for, because this is significantly breaking behavior inside the GNO VM, which is that because we don't perform terminating statement analysis, which is a required part of the Go spec, we have trouble, like, with the simply functions which don't return anything, or which have conditions in which they don't return anything. And what happens here is that the function goes back, the execution goes back to main, but without having the instructions at the VM level to pop the frame or to add the return value of any kind. So essentially, like, when this function returns and control is passed back to main, then the frame that this function is still in is the frame of y. And on top of that, the value of z doesn't become 9, like as it would if we did after this return x, but instead it becomes the literal function y, because that is just what so happens to be in the value stack at that point. And that can lead to all kinds of corrupting behavior, and I'm pretty sure if somebody sort of studied this code a bit better, potentially also security flaws, like accessing other realms' data. I don't know if you could manage to, like, manipulate this in a way that doesn't lead to a crash eventually. But yeah, like, the problem is that like this code should be rejected at the pre-processing stage by being invalid, right? Because it doesn't have a return statement, or, well, a terminating statement as it's called in the Go spec. Because as the Go spec says, if you have a panic here at the end, that's still considered like a terminating statement, because whatever happens, like, just goes back. It just goes back to main, but we know that the function, like, terminates, so to speak. And by not having that, we have, like, all kind of problems like these. This is, like, of all the issues that I've encountered over these past few days, probably the one which can lead to the most cryptic error messages, probably, because you don't really know what's going on with the sort of an error message like this. But aside from that, like, he generally is the one where I think there's probably more surface attack potentially if this were to be exploited. And yeah, that's all for my brief detour. No, not detour, but tour of the bags that I've found. I see Jeff has raised a hand, so please go ahead.
Yeah, just a naive question. If it's invalid Go code, is it just temporary that it's valid GNO code, or is the compiler going to reject that?
So it should be invalid GNO code. Well, especially at this point, it should be invalid GNO code. But we have, like, there are many things which currently, like, the GNO interpreter accepts, while the Go compiler doesn't. I think we don't have, for instance, unused variable analysis either. So we don't like check if the variable is used or not, which like, no, these are a class of like problems in code that eventually, like, the way that I managed to debug them simply is by converting the files from GNO to Go, just change the extension, and because I don't have any imports, I can just run the Go code, and it's exactly the same. And it will reject my code, right? Because it's going to say, well, yeah, you don't have a return here, and you don't use this variable here. And I think both of these cases are cases where we could handle them at the pre-processing stage, and one which adding more checks at the pre-processing stage doesn't necessarily mean that it involves higher gas costs, because like a large chunk of pre-processing can may only need to be done once on the chain itself. And it's essentially the compiling stage that we have, right? Because we go from the AST to
Maybe that's
being
the,
like more code. Yeah.
maybe that's the idea as I was missing is when you invoke a realm function, it basically has to compile from source, and that's why you want to limit the amount of checks and everything you're doing, is because it would take more operation cycles.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be that way. I mean, from what I remember, it's kind of mixed.
I would assume a lot of
Because,
this would happen when you first, install the realm, right? When you
Yeah, because like there's like one thing I'm sure which is only done once is like the variable initialization and constant initialization. So when you publish a realm, when you publish it, like this is done only when like what the values are computed immediately. And it's also because like it needs to know what the initial like global state of the realm is. So there are like there's different code that is run at different times, and what is generated by the pre-processing stage is not something that is necessarily stored. Is probably something that can be cached at least, right? So
I would
if a
assume that
realm or
it would just refuse to publish the realm if it's syntactically bogus.
well, yeah, that's true. Like if it can detect at the beginning that it's like there's a syntax error, it just rejects it. That's right.
Okay. Well, I'm not suggesting anything different. I'm just understanding. So thanks.
No worries.
Speaking of suggestions, is it something that we can talk about now? Especially like issue the no VM doesn't perform the terminating statement analysis, the 1086, since it's listed as an important issue for launch. Should we do other people want to weigh in on it? Is there something that we can get having a conversation about?
To clarify the notion of needed for launch, all the topics regarding bugs are have the status of needed for launch, but needed for launch doesn't mean that we need to fix it. We need to handle the issue. So we need to fix, or we need to say that we won't fix. But the goal is to identify all the bugs as things we clearly want to address for the launch. And maybe what we will decide is to actually change the status, but right now the reason why it's identified as important. But there is no proof that it means that it will be fixed before. I think it will, but can't promise.
So are there I don't know, do we want to discuss ideas for fixing it? Based on what Morgan was saying?
I mean, sort of like we kind of know what the solution is to this one.
Okay. Or
I
other
think
ones?
because like we even have some reference code that is used by the Go programming language itself. That's the terminating statement analysis here. And so as Miller said, like most of these are just things that either need investigation a bit into the Gno VM. Like I think it's early to talk about strategies for a lot of these because like mostly they don't involve big refactors, I would say. But yeah, sorry. If somebody does want to raise questions or like raise any kind of comment about any of these, please do.
Okay. Should we move on then to, there is a issue around, I don't know if it's, but it's also related to the NoVM 812. I think Antonio.
Yeah, this one is one I discovered some time ago, and it's related with the GNU VM store. That when I went through all the VM store code base and everything, I saw some strange behavior when using this set cache package. That instead of using the store, it was storing temporal package information inside memory. So it can be a way to attack a node. So you can force using a bad realm. You can, yeah, sorry, go ahead. Okay, I thought that Manfred talked. Okay. Yeah, you can basically force a node to fail, creating a malicious realm that is like basically loading a bunch of packages on memory and causing the node to fail. Yeah, I tried to use an LRU cache there, but the behavior that is using this method is expecting to have everything on memory there, so I cannot discard any package from memory. So I proposed like another solution to store these kind of temporal packages inside the key value store like properly, and avoiding like using memory that is not limited at all at the realm level.
Anyway, I guess it's because I think the last like was around May 12th, right? I don't know if it's related to any of the things that Morgan was finding or if anyone has comments, but I just was going through some of the things that will be looked at for launch. To try and discuss.
Yeah, if you have any questions, you can talk with me directly or send me a DM or anything.
Okay, if no one has feedback, comments, wants to discuss on that, should we move on to maybe any VM updates, Mark? Like last time, I know Peter is not here, but last time we were talking about the different VMs. Just curious if you had any updates to share.
Yes. Okay, I will give you some news of also the work from Peter as far as I'm aware of what he's doing. So Peter has developed a Rust implementation not only of the virtual machine, but also of the whole tool chain. So that means the compiler. So it means that he has written a Go compiler entirely in Rust. And he has also even started to experiment changing the compiler to implement the proposal from J, for example, for the invar proposal, to see if it was possible to implement it in Rust. So this is an experiment right now. I don't know how far is it and if it is showable or not. We have to wait from Peter for that. What I can say is that in terms of virtual machine itself, the definition of the virtual machine is now stable. So there is in fact, the virtual machine is now unchanged for several weeks, and this is true also for me. And we have almost the same definition. In fact, he derived his virtual machine definition from mine at the start, and we are not working anymore, Peter or myself, on the virtual machine definition. It's stable and it makes the job, and it's all good. What we are working on right now is the code generation. So this is everything from parsing, scanning, parsing, and then compiling. And what Peter has done on his first machine, he has ported a part of the parser and scanner from the Go compiler in Go, and he has simply ported the parser from Go into Rust. So it's almost a direct translation from Go to Rust as far as I saw the Rust code for that. And it does the job, and the parser and scanner are stable. But the code compiler is not yet finished, and it's making a lot of progress, but it's not yet finished. On my side, I'm also rewriting a parser and a scanner from scratch, and I would say that I'm not as advanced. In fact, my parser is not as complete as the Go one. It's close, but not yet as complete. And I'm still working on the parser right now. But I'm working also on the code generation, and I think my code generation is also working well. I have a lot of experience on this part from Yagi as well. And I think at the end, the one I'm making in Go should be simpler and easier to maintain and understand than the one in Rust, but this has to be proven. And, so I should also mention that in order to make progress and in order to assess which is the best direction and which is the best implementation of all those competitive projects, I have also started to do a kind of Go test suite project, which is a script which will run many samples to verify that a Go compiler or a Go interpreter is conform to the Go specification. So it's a matter of having a lot of examples which are relevant to various aspects of the Go specification and testing different implementations to see if the output is correct or not. And we have already a lot of examples in our code and in various other codes. And I have started to make a project which is completely independent of the implementation, and which a project that could serve as an independent Go test suite. This is something which doesn't exist today, and this is also something that I think we could provide to the Go community. And this thing is so it's simply a couple of shell scripts in Bash. Today I have not yet published the repository, but I think this is something that I can do in the next days. And that will be useful even, for example, for the issues that Morgan has mentioned, to keep track of all the important issues and to verify that the Gno VM, the Pascal project or the Rust project or any other interesting implementation covers or not this aspect of the documentation, of the specification. And I think that's if you have questions or remarks, and that I think that's it for me on the VM side.
Is there an issue that I should link to here?
I think no, there is no issue, but I will open a PR probably in Hackerspace for that.
Okay. And this might be a very layman question, but like, do some of the things you're talking about resolve some of the VM issues that Morgan has? or unrelated?
I think, yeah, in fact, for the examples that he mentioned, for example, the example of the function which has no no return and which like analysis of return, this is typically the kind of examples that we could include in the Go test suite to verify if we cover that or not. So that will, in fact, the goal is also to have a kind of library of issues and example and samples which are relevant, and it's in fact this is a matter of growing this library in time, and it's never complete. You can never fully prove that your compiler is complete. In fact, you need to accumulate examples and samples and to have a cover. It's not a matter of code coverage, it's a matter of finding counter examples. And we know that they exist, but we don't know what they are until we find them. So, and we need a place to accumulate that. So there is two possible places: either the project itself. I think it should be done for issues, but it's also interesting when we have an interesting sample like that to verify that other implementations are covered or not. And it could be useful, for example, to discover security issues not only in our project but also in other projects which are used. For example, the Go compiler, and it would be very interesting to see if one issue we discovered Gno would be dangerous for the Go compiler or the opposite.
I don't know if there's anything that needed to be discussed on the Morgan Mark front, but then there'll be a hackerspace issue opened on it. I guess this is a good time for talking about quickly Go. Manfred, do we want to give a quick no fee and call to action to see if people like Joseph or others that are passionate about Go want to start getting involved with no fee?
I can make a quick one, but basically we have a workshop tomorrow. So just the introduction is that we will probably have a different version of Go with new features, both because some of them are features we want, and also for some of them because, for instance, we want to have more native types. We want to have integer 128 and 256 because that's the norm when you are doing DeFi projects. You can't just rely on int 64, and it's painful to use big int library, etc. everywhere, especially for readability. So we will want to make a kind of custom variation of Golang, while we try to also preserve a similar readability, so being able to code on Gno very quickly when you know how to code on Go. And for this, we also need to maintain another thing, which is not the readability, but the compatibility. And for compatibility, one of the ideas is to propose all our changes to Go, wait for an approval, and then start to develop. The other way we have in mind is to use Gnofi. Maybe the name will change, but basically a way to transpile like TypeScript for JavaScript or CoffeeScript for JavaScript. So it's another language passing through a program that just creates standard valid Golang, and it will also generate valid Gno.land. And with this simple method, we can experiment with missing features like the new native types, but also with new keywords. For instance, it does not make so much sense to have extra security for your exported variables when you write a library in Go, but on Gno, it starts becoming very important to make sure that everything you expose, so not only the function, but also a structure or variable or constant, can be modified by other contracts. So being able to expose constants and other readable things for everyone without the risk of them being rewritten. So this thing could make sense in Go, but makes a lot of sense in GNU. And maybe we will extend the keyword so that a const can be read-only, can be more completely constant, including the pointers inside. Or maybe we'll have other ways maybe to add attributes on variables, more additional attributes like ACLs. And yeah, Gnofi is a simple program like TestScript, which this is not a server, this is not a compiler, this is not, no, it's just a transpiler that will transpile and then pipe to another tool that will do the stuff. We generate Go and we run Go run, we run Go build, Go test. We generate GNO and we publish the result of the contract. And by doing this, we can add the missing keyword, so keep easy to read contract with better native types, etc. And then we have two choices. One is to not change the runtime, the VM. So the VM is basically just taking Go code. But the other option is to have our VM supporting these new features while having Gnofi here to preserve compatibility with standard Go tools. So it's a way for us to not wait and probably get a refusal from the Go team when we have new features in mind. We just develop what we lack. We'll never force anyone to use it. Basically, the goal if we have Gnofi files in a repo that can be a smart contract or Go, it's to consider that people do not have to do not need to understand this. They can just use the generated Go or generated GNO files. And yeah, this is our way of supporting, of experimenting with new keywords, new native types, preserving a huge compatibility, and allowing us to decide if we want to add new features in the VM directly, or maybe later, or maybe never. And it's potentially a way for the Go team to measure the potential adoption if other people start using Gnofi instead of Go. Maybe people will want to use, I don't know, try-catch missing keyword in Go. And by using Gnofi, they will be able to just write Gnofi file with standard Go, except they have a new keyword, try-catch. And yeah, maybe it can become a way to actually make proposals for Go improvements later, but not only with work, but with one, a demo, and two, some proof that it's adopted, for instance, by doing a GitHub search of how many people are writing in Gnofi and using the try keyword. So tomorrow we have a workshop, an internal workshop to decide the strategy. It's to prepare the upcoming meeting we have in San Diego, the GopherCon. And the goal is to have this product on the side. It's not a priority for the mainnet, but it's strategically it's a good thing to have this because it makes all the decisions easier, especially how we want to support bigger native types. This is complex when we don't have a Gnofi. It becomes super simple when you have Gnofi because the answer is okay. Let's start with Gnofi generation. So actually, the VM is unchanged and still compatible with Go, while we can propose a current way of managing bigger types. And it does not mean that the VM can implement it later. It just means that right now it works. And basically, it's less engaging. It's easier to experiment and to support experimental features. And we have the workshop tomorrow. We will speak with a lot of non-Web3 gophers at the end of the month. So I expect we can both speak more about this and give feedback and maybe make a more open workshop with everyone interested at the beginning of October. It will be a repo. We want strategically that it exists. We don't need it for the mainnet. So we won't put too many efforts on it, just have the good foundation so that it exists and it becomes easier to say, okay, let's remove this from Gno and move it and put it on Gno-fi for the moment. So it's a way to actually reduce the complexity of Gno of the Gno monorepo.
Cool. I linked it here for other people who are not familiar with what the Hackerspace issue 22. It'll be cool to see how the workshop goes. I think that we have Albert here, and I don't know Albert timing wise, but shall we quickly chat about issue 362?
It's just working on for the multi-node testnets. We already had some discussions, and I start to discuss about with Manfred of my wish list for making this, and to have the requirements for the testnets. I already created a specific repository which is in private for the moment, named Networks with all the information. It will be the place where we will gather the GenTX from all the validator. And I started working a bit on the CLI to have a look and have the missing pieces. There is a draft request for the moment. Manfred, do you want to say something about it?
Yes. This issue 362 is a test 4, and test 4 is not about multi-node testnet. Multi-node testnet is another parallel topic that exists, but it's not test 4, it's independent. And then I was starting to reply to your PR 1102. Maybe you can discuss here for people to get their opinion on this. Basically, how much we want to make Gno.land more complete in terms of CLI subcommands. And actually, you open a PR, and if you look at the PRs, okay, you linked my PR 1050. I also started working on this. But yeah, I don't think we will implement this. I think we will have similar features available, not in Gno.land, in something else. So basically, Gno.land is to run a node, and I think you are right on the fact that the current Gno.land start should be renamed Gno.land dev. But then I think the only second command is Gno.land start. And everything else is not for developers, not for production. It's just about crafting custom things. I think the Gno.land dev should be more autonomous, should look for your file system, load your key automatically if you want, support looking for maybe genesis.local.txt if they exist or not. So we can make something more automatic in Gno.land dev. Instead of having commands, it just have more flexibility to not have to commit additional files while having your local environment loaded automatically. So your local keys and custom local Genesis key entries. But then for everything else, if we want this command to exist, I think we need to put them somewhere else in another tool, because when we'll be in production, this thing will never happen anymore. We will never want to have a custom version of the configuration. We want the configuration to be fully managed by contracts. So the goal of a node attaching to a production network will be to have enough configuration to start loading the blocks, and then to apply the configuration over time. And when you are running a local network, you clearly want to be in dev mode. And the other thing about running another Gno.land, which is not mainnet and not local devnet, I think it should not be in Gno.land. It should be for people to start new TM2 or new Gno VM different clusters. But So I think all you have in your PR will exist, but probably not in Gno.land. In Gno.land, I think we will do what you said to rename start in dev, make dev even more automatic, and just have a start, which is about if you are the first node, you start it. If you are a joiner, you make everything you can to not try to have custom flags, but actually to match as much as possible the expected production settings.
I understand your point. Just I'm not like a big fan about like as a validator and node runner, it's like kind of easy to have everything gathered in one binary and not have like many different tools for managing. Yes, it's true that for the mainnet, we will use only one time the subcommands for generate the GenTX and all that. But like I believe we will also create a lot of future like testnets and also multi-node testnets. And why not have an internal devnet that could have also that will also be multi-node and all that. And I think for everyone, and this is for us, but maybe there is other team that will develop a big project and many stuff. They will want to create their own testnets, multi-node or even single node. And so that's why I believe like having the GenTX and all that, that could be really useful to have like commands to craft your own Genesis files and how you want to have it, and not only with dev. After, the way I put it is to be like ISO with the Cosmos SDK, which will help validator, node runners, and many people to onboard more easily with Gno. But this is like a bonus kind of. But I don't understand and don't see the point of putting this command somewhere else. I think it will be just more complex. Like for me, it should be like one binary for the node runner and one binary for the developers with Gno and all that. But if we have too many binaries, it will be like really complex, I believe, in the future now.
We want one binary for node runners and one binary for people trying to craft custom networks, like network architects. The node runner is about running node. It's about being very minimal, running on a Raspberry Pi or whatever makes sense. And we put the play button and we expect no maintenance. And then you have two kind of people joining networks without use of all of these commands, or people generating networks. And here you can have tools, but consider that it will be, it's something actually, your example of creating a custom Gno testnet with multiple nodes, which is not something we want to push. We want to encourage people to launch Gno VM testnets, not Gno testnets. But anyway, if for some reason you want to test the compatibility and you don't want to use official testnets, let's imagine we want to do it. The goal is to have the node running very minimal focused with no extra features, while having some things, some script, something generating the Genesis for the first node of your other multinet, which is not a devnet, not an existing net. So the goal is to have, as you said, a node runner builder binary, a dev binary, so Gno. And then for the other extra thing which is not common, it can exist, but not in Gno.land, not in Gno. It can be a third kind of binary for advanced people, maybe even us. Maybe we, as core developers, will use these features more than anyone else. But the goal is to have a minimal binary that won't be updated because there is a new helper. You have a node, Gno.land. It should be updated because Gno.land changed, not because when Genesis is updated. It should be very low in terms of maintenance, upgrades, size, and features.
To give you an
possible.
Yeah. To give you an idea on like Cosmos SDK chains, this command hasn't been moved or updated since years. Like it's just like really basic, like updating the Genesis file. Like it's really basic. Like adding an address inside of the Genesis file and adding a basic like initial transactions in the Genesis file. Like it's really basic. It's not something big. It's not something that will be updated in the future. Since it's fully dynamic after. It's just people putting their different files with their own like their Genesis balances and their own Genesis accounts, Genesis balances and Genesis TX. It will be just that, but the file and the code for that won't be moved, I believe, in the next years once it's merged. Or if you want, like maybe add, and to keep it minimal, maybe we can put it in the. I'm just thinking as a node runner, it means that I believe it's way simpler. Like you just download Y binary and you start. If you say to the people that you will have 2 binary to download, one for setting up the system and then one to join, I think it's easier.
One for running node, and one for the unique guy crafting stuff. There is one for DevOps and one for network architect.
Yeah, but if someone wants to join the network, he will need to use the 2 binary because he will have to generate the GenTX.
No, we need to provide this. That's the goal of your repo. The goal of the configuration is to be enough to join a network and discover the rest of the configuration, such as the memory limits and everything that should be deterministic and always the same. So the initial configuration is only about joining the P2P network and trusting the crypto, so we can start fetching the blocks. When the blocks are synchronized, you can start validating because you have all the other configuration which is on chain.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I understand for the add Genesis account and for the add transaction message, like add no message transaction, I created. Add no Genesis messages and add no packages, but the GenTX, it will be the GenTX, every node runner will need to run it at start to generate their GenTX and to have their information.
Yeah, this one I think it's a good addition.
Okay. I don't know what for me, I think it's way easier to have everything in one binary, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
There's some, I think Milos in the chat also has some.
Milos, you have some stuff to
Because not everyone will be able to read the chats.
Oh, yeah. The TLDR is, I think we just need to define the complete scope of the base binary, and after that, see how we can make it pretty much as easy as possible to integrate any kind of bootstrapping flow. And I sort of tend to agree with Albert here that this needs to be like super simple, and if at all possible, like maybe make it one binary and not have to run 30 tools like beforehand to actually start the chain. But yeah, I think we still haven't completely defined what we want out of the base binary and how you actually start the chain. After we sort of have this defined, I think we can figure out sort of what is the best flow for bootstrapping.
Is there a, like, to Milosha's point, is there a DevOps or infra setup repository in Gno?
Yeah.
With this a binary discussion, I was just curious if we wanted to point people there.
So, for node runners and all that, for now the repository is created. There is some information, but it's not public yet. It's named Gno.land /networks. And for now, it gathers just the information about like the current test nets, but it's like informations. I just sent in the chat a chain, so it's Cosmos SDK chain, but I really love the way they did it, and most of the chain are doing it like that, but just they create after automatism with GitHub Actions. So basically, for all the others that maybe don't know, when you launch a new Cosmos chain, you have like a GenTX. So every validator have to run a command that will just basically put their public wallet address, and so they generate their private key and all that, and just say like, hey, on the Genesis transaction, this will be me, and that's it. So it's just like some basic JSON saying like, hey, this is my validator, this is my information, and all this information.
Even this case is a good example of how much we're not compatible with this approach, because we are with proof of contribution. What you are trying to do is what we want to do with TM2 and Gno VM for people that want to run another Gno VM network. But Gno.land is made around proof of contribution. Basically, the goal is to vote on-chain. So GenTX can exist, but the goal is not to generate a JSON file. The goal is to make a transaction. The goal is to register against a contract. The GenTX basically is something that you can pipe with Gno key at the end. It's about making a transaction to register on-chain your validator so that it can be voted by the DAO.
Yeah, but your GenTX
which is unique to Gno.land. If we implement this in Tendermint 2, it will be useless. It will be reusable for other Gno VM or Tendermint 2 chains. So Gno.land is special. We have dev nets, we have test nets that can be manually crafted, and we have then the production which won't use any of these commands.
Tell me, maybe I didn't get something. So, but you still need on your GenTX to have at least the validator, even if it's a proof of contribution. But you need to have the validator saying, hey, this is my public key.
You need to have a first node, which is a validator, and this first node can add a second, a third, etc. We can make something different. We can clearly make a list of the initial validators, but the other option is to make a DAO starting with one node and use because at the end, let's say we are 1 year after we can have a Genesis sync for the first batch of registration of validators, but then except this condition, we'll only use the on-chain management. We won't restart, we won't do anything. So we can clearly make something to have 10 nodes instead of one, or we can just make a first node and expect in the first blocks to add the other ones using the DAO vote, which won't be decentralized, but at least at the unique everything method.
I understand. I understand your point. So you want to start with one node and then add multiple nodes.
We can have multiple nodes, but we also have the option to implement a single option to scale, which is the one that we will anyway need at the end. the DAO-based validator set management. This is something we can't skip. So since we will have it, we can make something with we can make a dual method of generating the thing, or we can make something that I consider smarter, which is the first node starting is self-registered and able to scale to more than one node by approving other second, third, etc., which join a DAO that then vote for the next ones.
Okay, so I get your point, but me, I wanted to start directly on block 0. If we said like we want 10 validators
we can do
just
it.
to start the network,
we can do it. We can do it, and actually, I will probably be the guy crafting the third Genesis, and I don't need those tools. I am, as I said, a network architect. I will craft the third Genesis with custom tools that I don't want to maintain for other people. I think everything you have in your PR makes sense for the generic TM2, etc. But for Gno.land, it's really special because of our contribution, because of other reasons. It makes a lot of sense to have a very, very efficient Gno.land dev so that you can start a node locally, even have maybe multi-node. Maybe Gno.land dev should have helpers to be more multi-node friendly. But at the end, all your commands will be used by no one actually. They will be used a lot in other TM2 and GnoVM based chains. So for sure. And it makes even sense to try to be compatible with Cosmos SDK and Command Chain, I think, on this point.
They will be used by no one as dev, yes, but node runner and infra and me in infrastructure for running multiple infrastructures. I believe I will use it a lot in my scripts and everything. When I will script to create multiple, when I will script to create different stuffs. Of course, I understand I can create multiple nodes and and playing with cat said and crafting the Genesis file by hand, but it's way better to have this CLI. But after I understand. I understand your point. I prefer mine, but I understand your point. I understand your point. Let's chat maybe later about this topic.
I prefer my points, but I understand yours. I don't know. Okay. I also just because not everyone reads the chats. Just the Miloš also added that have a genesis that node operators can use to generate the chain at block 0, and then after that protocol logic kicks in to sync the chain and get up to speed on the latest height. So I guess this the reason I added this one is I think that also it's related to on block, right? You guys had this in your, I think, in the block data synchronization issue as well. So it was a blocker for you guys too. Is that right, Dong-Won?
No. Unblock, I think it's like it's not about this topic. It's not linked to that because unblock they're using the current mainnet, so they just have to join the current mainnet and that's it. And me, the tool that I'm creating it's tools to create and bootstrap a new network.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought like then there also is the issue of the Meta multi-node testnet initiative in the hackerspace number 9 with Dong-Won. Okay. So I guess the question that I have then, Albert or Manfred, is does this require a DevOps issue for a node strategy, or is it just a good discussion to have?
No, this is an important topic for the launch. And yeah, before Albert completes his PR, I suggest clearly to speak on an issue.
Okay.
Okay. I will create an issue about the plan for bootstrapping and onboarding new validators, and then we will speak from that.
Yeah, I think that's better in that way.
Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
and then maybe in 2 weeks we can talk about it. Okay, there's just a few more issues. I think there's a few people that aren't here in the next ones, but I don't know if B1T is here. There's a new issue around should we not allow injecting methods on a non-existent package node. This is issue 1099. I was curious if it if B1T wanted to bring it up for some discussion and action.
Yeah, I think this is just like, you know, there's a package on the concept called the package node that holds all this parse AST in there. So when we inject something, either for testing purpose or for production, when we inject a native method, what does that mean is actually we attach some code here with the package node so that that can be executed by the virtual machine. So in that particular issue, if let's say a package, for example, in existing standard library internal, right? There's no files under internal directory. So then there is no internal package node is created at all. So if we will try to inject something into that package node, and it should panic. So that's the issue is about. Okay. And we should not make it like calling anything else for back or anything, because the inject method have to apply to a valid package node, which is a package, basically. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything people want to discuss, but that's I try to explain well where the issue is.
Is there, or is it pretty straightforward?
Just for information, Guillaume is working on something that will allow testing this behavior. So it's not about choosing right now. I think we will go in on what Ray is saying with by being very package centric and having the PKG path unique identifier that have some rules when you add a package and some rules when you look up for an import. But yeah, just for information, Guillaume is working on a new integration test suite that will allow testing easily such complex things like you upload A/B, then A, or A/B containing B/C, and then importing A/B/C, etc. So for the next talk, for the discussion, we'll be able to have maybe a table of this case work, this case doesn't work, and we can more easily take decisions on what we want to do. But yeah, I also think that we should just have packages that are an object, and the package identifier, which is currently set forever, could potentially be moved, be aliased, or yeah, it's a route from a string to a package. It's just an identifier. And then it's about making sure that we never have conflicts. But as soon as we don't have any conflicts, then we can think about many workflows, including uploading A after A/B, or having maybe rename at some point, or just versioning with latest being a pointer that can move. So yeah, embracing the fact that the package is more independent and more like atomic, while having the identifier, which is something only for external packages and not very interesting from the package point of view.
Is there an issue, Gilham, that you have, or Manfred, on this, and then we could maybe link it or talk about it?
The test suite, yeah, I think that's the last issue, maybe, or
Okay.
one of the last ones.
And then maybe next time, Gilham.
It just started working on it, so yeah.
Okay, in 2 weeks, then it would be cool to hear about it.
Yeah, I just started to work on it, so I don't have a...
Which issue? What's the number?
So yeah, I was just saying about what Manfred says about the issue we created
What number is
today. I don't have
I look.
this. Oh yeah, it was like 1101, no?
Okay. I document these just for context. I document all of these because and repeat things because we, so that people who might want to listen to this can listen. And then also, we publish regularly. The more you know, and it's easier when we have the links to include in the more you know. Which, if you guys haven't read, it just went out yesterday. Okay, so I don't know. There's a few more, but I think the one about the RPC realm function, Jeff, this one is already we've covered, and it's your question's being addressed, right?
Yes.
Cool. I don't know, Manfred. I think Michael's not on the call today, but do we want to? Is there any update or anything that we want to share about the works DAO?
Nothing on my side.
Okay. It's needed for mainnet, but no updates this time. Okay, can table it.
Yeah, basically, Works DAO will be the DAO voting for advanced system-related decisions, like adding a validator or making the most system-wide decisions. So Works DAO is needed for mainnet. Actually, Works DAO for the launch will probably be a subset of what will look Works DAO 1 year after. So initial Works DAO is mostly a way to make votes based on the voting power of Works token holders. So Works DAO is basically the DAO with Works points that you earn by making contribution with the concept of levels that we are still defining. So what we are currently saying, the 7 levels. And then it's about having voting features. This is what we need for the mainnet. But since Works DAO is something that will be way more complete over time, right now the issue is more open-ended. And then it's about to define what is actually required for the launch, what is required to prevent having too many upgrades, and then what we clearly postpone for later.
You said there were 7 levels?
That's the current plan, yeah, to have this prime number amount of levels where anyone joining the Works DAO by making contribution with an entry level, and the most loyal and responsible contributors have the highest level, and the goal for everyone is to earn new levels over time. And basically, the levels will have an impact on your voting power, on maybe the questions you can vote for. It's to be defined. It's topic mostly for Michael, and we should help him to design something that makes sense.
Okay. Cool, that would be a prime number. Okay, so then there's just 1 or 2 more that I put. This is a really old one, but it relates to Dong1, and I think it's the full node operation on test 3, but it's the block data synchronization. And I know I mentioned it, so I didn't realize that it was different from what Albert was talking about. But I wanted to just bring it up because you put it under the needed for launch, and I know that we will be talking. And so Dongwon, I didn't know if you guys were working on this or if there was.
Which one?
It's issue 863. It's it looks like an oldie, but
Yeah, I think yeah, this issue has been resolved.
Okay. So 863 block data synchronization and full node operation on test 3 has been resolved because it's listed as a needed for mainnet.
Yeah, this issue has been resolved with the help from Jay.
Okay. The 969. Okay. Does it mean that we should close this one then, 863? Sorry, I didn't mean to go through closing things, but okay. And then the last one was just, is there, I know it's something we talked about in the past around the banker module. Does anyone have like an issue for the banker module, or is it something that is being discussed? Is there a conclusion on it? Like,
it's an open issue. I'm not aware of what's changed recently. It's a known bug we need to fix.
Okay.
I think there are at least one PR which is maybe nearly finished on making sure. I think that's from Unblock actually. R3V4S. There is one PR that is adding prefix and hashing of the minted tokens.
Yeah.
This way, it's not possible to mint Huguenot from a module anymore, and we don't have conflicts.
Okay.
So,
and I think also Morgan maybe had one a comment. I guess I was curious, just like if it was resolved, concluded, or still up for debate.
What about banking module? The banking module, like about name spacing and so on.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, if Manfred agrees that it's a bug, then it's a bug, and we agree that it should be namespaced. And I think that about ends the discussion on it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an official bug. We know it. Basically, right now it's possible to mint a UGNOT from any contract. So there is no way we don't fix this. And the goal is to merge one of the fixes. And well, yeah, from what I remember, the PR from Revas, from Unblock's team, was good. I think it was read in terms of CI or something. We need to review.
Yeah, I think this is the 875, right, that Dongwon just shared?
875.
Change the nom of coin that minted by banker?
Yeah, this one. So if this one is green and well reviewed, I think it fixed completely the problem with the banker module. So I put it on review meeting. Oh, it's already in review meeting. Great. Oh, probably I made it yesterday.
Okay, cool. So it's resolved. Okay, and I think then the other was just if there were any quick, maybe 2 minutes, if there's anything on the Tendermint JS2 or Node.js2, Milos?
Yeah. The only update we have is we've merged out the PR that was open with Unblock, and we did a release, so that should be ready for use.
Cool, congrats. And then the last one was that I just put the feature of the NoVM because we talked about NoVM and the improved native bindings. I think as we were talking, we said that it was a blocker or something. Is the native binding feature issue or pull request resolved?
So, just a second, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's 859. I think.
Yeah.
Obviously no.
So there's now a review from Manfred where I'm going to address the comments that you made now. But yes, it looks to me that we're slowly but surely approaching merging. Essentially, we're still not there yet, but as soon as I'd like it to be sooner, but it doesn't depend on me really.
Just sorry, which PR?
Native bindings.
Oh yeah. I made a last bunch of review today. I will make an additional one, and I asked Jay to look only for this one if he has time. So
Great.
the first PR he should review is this one.
That is great news, no? I think because someone said it was blocking or it was something.
Oh yeah. I'm clearly waiting for this one. I hope it will be approved.
Yeah.
If it's not approved, I hope we'll find quickly solutions. I clearly want this one a lot. Oh, and I don't know if Jacob is still there, but Jacob? No? Joseph, sorry, excuse me.
No, I think
Joseph is still there, but yeah, for Joseph, it will also improve his life. And
Yeah.
it will just in general, makes life easier for everything related to documentation, both dynamic one, static one, generated one. Oh, yeah, really looking forward.
I think also just I think Antoine or Zuma had to drop off, but Norman's here. I think they also said Territory also said it was a blocking issue for them. So that's good news.
Yeah, I'm curious why people are blocked by this one, because I see it as a huge improvement, but not as something that can block people.
Norman, was I wrong? Was it blocking you, or does anyone know why this can block? Just out of curiosity, in the last 2 minutes or a few minutes.
It can be a reason for me to say, please stop working on this feature or wait for native binding to be finished before. But in terms of usage, I'm curious if someone has a case where it's blocking try to write contracts.
Yes, there was one issue. Sorry, I didn't hear the whole conversation. There was one issue that was quite blocking. Let me find it.
I think it's the native binding ones, right, Norman?
No, it's not native binding. It's it's the ownership bug. Let me find it.
Okay.
974. So it's a bit weird because the definition I gave in the issue actually does work now, I think. Well, it wouldn't previously, but there's other version of the same bug where some ring can steal the ownership of an object. But the best example, because this is this pattern that I want to do, is the GRC20 registry PR I did. Let me find it again. If this, I really need this registry pattern for a few things, for the DAO stuff, and actually for a lot of things. Let me link it. This PR. This doesn't work because of the ownership bug. So if you try this, like run the test, you run the foo20 test, you will see that it will crash at the foo.mint calls that are done after the register. And so not being able to do this pattern is really blocking for me. I can rewrite contracts to not use that pattern, but it would be really, really nice to have it, because it would be really hacky otherwise. Like I'm trying to do a DAO version which is modular, in which you can use different voting modules, proposal modules and stuff. So it could be new realms,
and I really need this registry pattern to do this kind of stuff. So I can like quit this job this way and do like a more monolithic DAO, but I think it's better to set up a standard that is more modular. So this is blocking for me, this pattern in the pull request, which is blocked by the issue I outlined in the previous issue.
Okay, so the GRC20 registry.
Yep, this is the pattern I want to issue.
Is there any? Is there? I guess is there any? It's needed for launch. I guess we will.
I think the bug is very problematic, so I think it will be needed for launch, but that's not my call. But I think because it's a serious bug.
Okay. Any thoughts? Any feedback? No, just to tackle it. And now I realize, sorry, it was on block that had posted 859 native bindings as a blocker when I scrolled back in the chats.
Yeah, it was actually me who brought it up. I don't know the exact context, so I'm gonna have to talk to our developers and maybe share it in the next call. It does say it has to do with porting Go packages to pure Gno. But yeah, I'm gonna look into details and share it in next call.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, good news is I guess it's getting merged, and then I guess what Manfred is saying, it would be cool to know why or feedback on it. Okay, that worked. I worked through the agenda. I didn't know if people have like final thoughts. Other than there will be a lot of workshops happening.
One quick thing I want to bring up is I actually have a proposal for the governance module that was updated last week. I think Michael gave a feedback, and it was really helpful. So I'd love to see some more feedbacks from some of you guys, whoever has free time.
Do you mind Andrew sharing the link here?
Yeah,
again?
sure. I'm actually trying to find the link right now. One moment.
Yeah, then.
Sorry.
No, it's okay, because I think that we were going to. I think Michael is going to work on a governance task force. So.
Yeah, he did mention that he has a long issue coming up. I wasn't sure when. I was going to ask him in this call, but
yeah, I'll make a note. Maybe we have a governance discussion on the next one.
All right. I found it.
Cool.
Yeah. So this is a link to the newest version. So and Maxwell is helping me develop it. So it'd be helpful if I can get some more reviews other than Michael's. That's pretty much it.
Cool. Hopefully everyone can get the team taking a look too. All right. Well, that's a wrap then. Thanks everyone for your time. See you on GitHub, see you on Signal, and then see you guys in 2 weeks, yeah? Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, Roy.
Bye-bye.